was on this, but now I'm on to that. You see it in my closet for it's on the rack. Was out there in Hawaii, now I'm going back. I got so much money, I should start a bank. So much paper right in front of me, it's hard to think. Buy so many bottles.
Good evening, YouTube. This is Chad Elliott, the Atheist Killer, AK, back with a brand new video. Tonight, we're going to talk about pure nothingness versus regular nothingness. Some people like to make the claim that the Elliott argument doesn't stand because I don't know what nothingness is. My reply? Of course I know what nothingness is. The people who have no idea what nothingness is are people like Lawrence Krauss and other physicists who try to trick people with below average IQs into believing nothingness has a newfound meaning. The funny thing here is that the Elliott argument doesn't make any claims about the nothingness Krauss and other dishonest physicists talk about. The Elliott argument refers to the concept of pure, literal nothingness. So, what's the difference? Well, people like Lawrence Krauss have really created the ultimate straw man by changing the meaning and the definition of the word nothingness and equivocated it to meet their own needs. This is dishonest and a very disingenuous, weak attempt at proving an argument and tricking people who, quite frankly, just don't know any better. For example, if I asked you what's the definition of time, and you said it's a magazine, you would be correct, but you wouldn't be talking about the time that I was asking you about. You see, when philosophers talk about nothingness, they are referring to what I call pure nothingness. And because people like Krauss have tried to muddy up the playing field on what nothingness is to fit their own needs and agenda, I like to throw in the distinction of pure in there so everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about and there is no room for confusion or dishonesty. It's discouraging to see such sophisticated physicists and brilliant minds resorting to such dishonest tactics to sell books and propaganda to make it look like something can in fact come from nothing, which in fact, that's just not true. So what is pure nothingness? Well, up until recently, it's been how everyone used and thought of the word nothingness, without the pure added in. But since Krauss and others have tried to trick people, we need to make a very important distinction now. Pure nothingness is an irrational, illogical concept that there is no evidence or reason to believe can ever be achieved. It's the concept of pure, literal nothingness, meaning no reality, no space, no time, energy, matter, laws, constants, structure, minds of any kind, etc. It's pure, literal nothingness. Pure nothingness can be represented and demonstrated in mathematics by the number 0. If anything at all exists, then the concept of pure nothingness is broken, meaning if anything else were to exist whatsoever, it couldn't be represented by 0. So for example, if the only thing that existed was the quantum vacuum, then that vacuum would fall under the definition of something. Therefore, it cannot be represented by the number 0, and thus not falling under the category of pure nothingness. 0 plus 0 only equals 0 every time. Pure nothingness only breeds more pure nothingness. From pure nothingness comes. An equation which shows the entire amount of positive and negative energy in the universe is equal to 0 may look something like this. -1 plus 1 equals 0. The reason this type of equation doesn't apply and fails is because in a pure nothingness hypothesis or equation, you never get to add together a -1 or a +1. You only are able to add together zeros in a pure nothingness equation. This seems obvious, but a lot of people don't get it. So, by pure nothingness, we are talking about literal non-being. Now, that contrasted with regular nothingness, which people like Lawrence Krauss speak of, is not the same as pure nothingness that philosophers use and that we talk about in the Elliott argument. The Krauss nothingness, or regular nothingness as I call it, generally is a state described by quantum physics. For example, the quantum vacuum is a rich sea of fluctuating energy, governed by physical laws and endowed with a distinct physical structure. Krauss calls this nothingness. But it's emphatically not pure nothingness because it is something. When philosophers ask the question, why is there something rather than nothing? They are talking about pure nothingness. They aren't asking why is there something rather than the quantum state, because after all, the quantum state is something. And also, it's important to note, people like Krauss would then need to explain the origin of the quantum vacuum without committing the fallacy of equivocation, which he does in every single lecture and every debate that he has. If the quantum vacuum itself didn't come from pure nothingness and is eternal without beginning, That falls under my acronym STE, and I'm sure you don't want to go down that road. So in closing, I certainly do know what nothingness is, and since others have tried to change the meaning to fit their own agenda, I have created the term pure nothingness to be very clear and upfront. The people who have no idea what nothingness is are people like Lawrence Krauss and other physicists who try to trick people with below average IQs into believing nothingness has some newfound meaning, which it doesn't. And remember, the Elliott argument doesn't make any claims about nothingness that Krauss and other dishonest physicists refer to. The Elliott argument refers to the concept of pure nothingness, pure literal nothingness. So if you think you can defeat me or the Elliott argument, I got 2 words for you, man. Bring it. Chad Elliott, the AK, Atheist Killer. I'm out of here, man. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.
Used to buy rounds, but now we by the bar. Last year they had to ask, now they know who we are. Boss tip, walk in the building, I own it. Can tell by who I'm on the phone with. Yeah, young and talk about grown biz. Many too busy jacking my swag. Need to mess around, get your own fit. Get your own cars, get your own clothes, get your own smoke, get your own chick. You ain't rapping my gang, get your own click. The bigger the bill, the harder you fall. Well, I'm throwing mine, cause my money low.